Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. So in this video I'm going to be giving you guys an update on the winter bedding plants here that are in my friend's garden that I've been looking after for the last year or so. So it's now spring and the wallflowers are starting to do really well. Unfortunately some of the other spring flowers haven't done as well as I would have liked. There's quite a few aphids and the weather hasn't been too conducive for the growth of the pansies. But I'll show you how they're doing anyway. So this is the main bed. There's also a couple of planters which I'll show you as well, and they're also looking quite bad because of the aphids at the moment. But you can see here the wallflowers have flowered really nicely. It's been a bit hit and miss with some of them. So for example this one here for some reason hasn't decided to flower as much as some of the other ones, but generally they're flowering quite nice. Also the ones at the far end there are flowering nicely. These were all just the same colour, but for some reason the one at the end turned out to be kind of a light yellow instead of a dark yellow. And they're actually 2 years old now, so I planted them, it'll be 2 years come this autumn. And the first year they were quite small, had a few nice flowers. I let them grow over summer, which is why they're so large at the moment, and that's given them a much better display today. There is probably going to be a better display in a few weeks' time. This one here, unfortunately, is probably going to go over soon. You can see there's quite long stems, quite a lot of seed parcels starting to appear on that, so that's going to go over soon. But most of them are actually just coming into bloom. So for example this one here, you can see there's loads of flower buds just starting to form and they haven't opened yet, so that's going to look really good. This one here as well, just starting to open up, so that's going to look really nice. Wallflowers in general have done really well. This one as well, looking pretty good. Survived the snow and the cold of the winter without any real problems, hasn't had any aphids or anything like that, so it's looking really good. The other plants, the violas or the polyanthus, they were put in at the same time as these wallflowers, and as you can see some of them are bulked up quite well, other ones are quite small. This one here for some reason has started to die back. I'm not sure what's wrong with that. I might need to dig it up, see if it's got anything eating the roots, because there could be some vine weevils attacking that. But you can see the other ones here, bulked up nicely. These are just going over, so it's kind of hard to do a video when everything's at its peak because they all flower at different times. Polyanthus here is just going over, but it's still putting out some nice flowers. And there's some over here which are looking a little bit healthier. This one's already starting to put on its new flush of leaves for the summer. You can see there, lots of new leaves starting to grow. Further along, this one looked absolutely stunning a few weeks back. You can see most of the flowers are finished on that, unfortunately, but it was completely covered in flowers. There's a few more like over there, but as I say, most of these are now going over. They've finished their flowering because they're very early flowering plants. So the other plants I've got in here are the pansies. Pansies should be quite a long flowering period, but for some reason they haven't grown too well over the winter months. See this one here, it looks quite healthy. It's just starting to bud up now, so I think these are still a bit late. These should be flowering in a few weeks' time. I think it just needs a bit more warmth to bring on a lot of these pansies. You can see there's a variety of colours. Some of them are flowering better than others. So this one here, again though, it looks like it's had slugs or something damaging the petals. They look quite ripped and eaten by the slugs, lots of holes in them. So it's a bit hit and miss with how they've done, but when I look at most of them, they have actually got a lot of flower buds coming. So you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at least, and there's even more further down. So I think these will recover. They're quite stocky plants because it's been quite a cold, windy winter, but I'm thinking the pansies should come up no problem soon. So that's most of this bed anyway. Also the tree is just coming into blossom. It's kind of hard to see against the white sky, and I'll try and zoom into there so you can see some of the blossoms. So you can see they're starting to bloom quite nicely. This is just starting to open up, so it should look better in a few days' time. There's some warm weather coming in at the weekend, so a lot more flowers should open up. You can see there a lot of them just starting to form. And then the final spring plants we've got are the planters here. These have been really decimated by the aphids, so these are almost completely dead. They did look quite well over the winter. They were doing pretty good. These are the violas, so they're a bit harder than the pansies. And so is violas for here, because it tends to be a bit windy here on the corner of the building. Also they're in a higher up position, they're not sheltered by the wallflowers like the pansies over there. So I put violas in with smaller flowers so they wouldn't be as battered by the wind. You see a few of the flowers here, but they were flowering quite well a few weeks ago. But what's happened is it's suddenly the aphids have come and pretty much decimated them. Also a little bit of drought stress as well. The combination of aphids and drought stress has killed them off, unfortunately. So you can see here, if I do a close in there, absolutely covered in aphids. So these are going to die off soon. So I will be replacing these, and I'll be making a video about that soon. And the other plants that I've done well is the ornamental cabbage here. It looks a bit weird now because it's gone to seed. You can see it shooting up. These kept their colour really well all winter. Just in the last few weeks with some slightly warmer weather, they've started to shoot up. And this one started to flower. So that's the other nice thing with the ornamental cabbages and kales, is when they do go to seed, you do get some nice yellow flowers in spring. This one on the right will be flowering quite soon as well, but I'll probably, as I say, replace it before it flowers with some nice summer flowers. So that's about it, I think, for this update. As I say, a bit hit and miss with some of them, but generally quite a lot of nice flowers coming out. I will be doing a summer planting soon. I'll wait for these flowers to go over, and then I'll plant this bed up with summer bedding. I'll probably be removing the wallflowers this year, because the wallflowers, what tends to happen is they do best in after 2 or 3 years, and after that they get a bit leggy, and they're not really perennial plants, they're more like biennials. They only last 2 or 3 years and then they die. These are a good size and they might do a couple more years, but the problem is they don't flower during the summertime, and if they get any bigger, the whole bed is going to be full of them and there's not going to be any space for any summer flowers. So I'll be taking these ones out. I might transplant them elsewhere if there's any space, and then what I'll do is I'll plant new ones in autumn this year, and they'll be quite small. They'll flower well next year. They won't be as big as these ones are now, but they will be in 2 years. They'll be quite small, so that'll allow plenty of space for me to put in other plants, and they should look quite nice. Whereas, as I say, these at the moment, they're looking good, but they're going to be taking up too much space for me to put any summer bedding in. So that's all for this update, and as I say, I'll give you guys another update when I'm hopefully putting in the summer bedding.